Hi everyone. Welcome to episode number 6. My name is Charlotte from cybersecurity, and today, I'm here to talk to you about how do you not need an antivirus on your PC or Mac in this podcast. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time, cybersecurity is one of the most prominent IT companies based in Toronto, Canada. Cybersecurity, with years of experience, provides a full range of remote and on-site managed IT, network support, computer help desk, cloud computing, website, app design, digital marketing, SEO, and graphic design. So let's dive into our topic. You may ask, how do you not need an antivirus on your PC or Mac, is an important topic these days. Everyone knows that an antivirus is essential to keep your computer safe from viruses, malware, and other types of threats. After all, it's pretty hard to use a computer if you don't have access to the internet. In addition to this, most people will also tell you that there's no point in using an antivirus if you only connect to the internet when you're not doing anything suspicious. This is because most antivirus programs are designed to prevent access to your computer when someone has malicious intent towards it, such as by trying to hack into it. However, this is false. Using an antivirus on your personal computer is unnecessary. You can still get infected without an antivirus. Despite what most people will tell you, an antivirus isn't always the best defense. In fact, some antivirus programs are even wrong at times when it comes to detecting threats. By blocking access to your computer when it's not infected and not blocking access to it when it is, an antivirus doesn't prevent you from getting infected. For example, let's say you connect to the internet without an antivirus. You find a link to a website that gives you a file that is full of malicious code but that you don't really understand. You then open this link and load the malicious file, and when you don't have an antivirus, this code will then infect your computer. Now let's say that you do have an antivirus. When you connect to the internet without an antivirus, the antivirus program on your computer will likely detect the malicious link that uploaded the malware. This is because the computer's antivirus program is looking out for malicious links. When the computer's antivirus program detects the link, it will stop you from opening the link. The problem is that the computer isn't actually infected. The computer is still trying to access the link that isn't there. This is exactly what happens when you use an antivirus. An antivirus isn't always the best defense. Many antivirus programs are meant to be your first line of defense when it comes to keeping your computer safe. However, this doesn't mean that you should rely solely on the antivirus. In fact, there are many times when the antivirus won't detect a threat, such as when the computer is infected but the antivirus can't see it. This means that you shouldn't use an antivirus just to make a computer seem safer than it really is. Instead, you should only use a computer's antivirus when the computer is infected and you need protection. After that, you should rely on other security measures to keep your computer safe, such as encrypting your data with a password. Antivirus software is overly restrictive. A common problem with antivirus software is that it's overly restrictive. This means that you are likely to annoy your computer and cause it to slow down if you use an antivirus. This is because an antivirus is meant to stop your computer from accessing certain files, programs, or even the internet. For example, let's say that you have a computer with an antivirus installed. This computer is only connected to the internet when you're not doing anything suspicious. Now let's say that you want to load a file from a friend on your computer. Unfortunately, your computer's antivirus program is blocking access to the internet, so you can't load the file from your friend. Now let's say that you don't want to annoy your friend, so you decide to unblock access to the internet on your computer. When you do this, the antivirus software on the computer will now start blocking access to all sorts of websites. Now you can no longer load any files from your friend, access websites for school or work, or even get online with your computer. Not everyone agrees on how an antivirus should work. There are a lot of debates about how an antivirus should work. In fact, not everyone agrees on how an antivirus should work. This means that there may be a lot of people out there using computers that don't have an antivirus, but are still safe thanks to their own decisions. For example, let's say that you have a computer that doesn't have an antivirus, but that you trust. Let's also say that you trust your computer's internet connection and that there are no computer viruses on your computer. Now let's say that your computer receives an email attachment that is malicious, but that you don't really understand. You then open the attachment and try to load the malicious file. Now let's say that your computer doesn't have an antivirus installed. This means that your computer won't be able to stop itself from accessing the malicious file. This is because your computer isn't actually infected. So, at the end, I would say an antivirus on your personal computer is a great idea, but you don't necessarily need it. In fact, you can still get infected without one. And, unless you're careful, you might annoy your computer or slow it down with too much protection. So, while you don't need an antivirus program on your computer, it's important to remember that you should still keep your computer protected. This means using a password to encrypt your data, using an antivirus when necessary, and keeping your computer updated with the latest software. I once again thank you on behalf of everyone who were a part of the CyberSecurity podcast for making it a great learning experience for all of us. You have genuinely infused us with hope by showing us how much potential the markets have for us. Thanks for listening to the CyberSecurity podcast and stay tuned for our next exciting episode. Goodbye.